The transformative power of the 1% principle, a blueprint for trading mastery. Imagine if a 1% change in your trading every single day could turn you from a struggling trader into a millionaire. Sounds impossible, right? We are often conditioned to believe that massive success requires massive, sweeping changes, overnight overhauls of our lives and strategies. But the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. Success is built on tiny, almost invisible improvements that seem meaningless in the isolated moment. Yet, if these actions are performed consistently, they can completely transform your financial future. Most traders fail not because their strategies are inherently bad, and not because the market is a malicious entity working against them, but because they lack the fundamental architecture of discipline. They chase instant results, they overtrade, and they ignore the small, incremental steps that actually build the foundation for long-term success. But what if I told you that mastering just a 1% improvement every single day is the real secret held by the world's elite performers? By the end of this exploration, you're going to understand exactly how small, disciplined actions can compound into massive, life-changing profits. You will see how consistency beats luck every single time, and how you can start applying this 1% strategy today to create a trading account that grows steadily and predictably. This isn't mere theory, and it certainly isn't hype. This is the rigorous science of compounding, the psychological reality of discipline, and the specific strategy that separates professional traders from the ranks of the amateurs. Stay with me, because in the next several minutes, you're going to learn the one principle that can redefine your trading journey forever, the mathematics of marginal gains. Let's dive deeper into the power of 1%. At first, 1% might sound insignificant. It's tiny, almost invisible, like a single drop of water in the vastness of the ocean. Most people dismiss it because it seems too small to move the needle in their daily lives. But here's the mathematical truth: small improvements, when repeated consistently, compound in ways that are absolutely staggering. Mathematically, if you improve by just 1% every day, the result after 1 year is not a linear 365% improvement. Because of the way compounding works, you end up 37 times better than where you started. Imagine that. 37 times more skilled, more disciplined, and more profitable. This is the difference between barely scraping by and completely dominating your trading game. It is the gap between a small, struggling account and one that steadily grows into wealth that changes your life. This is the magic of compounding in its purest form. Think about it in simple, physical terms. Imagine you're climbing a massive staircase. One single step doesn't feel like much. You might even question whether that one step is worth the effort. But one step after another, day after day, you eventually reach the summit. The progress is barely noticeable at first, but over time, your elevation becomes unstoppable. The same principle applies to your charts. If you improve your entries by just 1%, your risk management by 1%, and your emotional control by 1%, the combined effect over months is not additive, it is exponential. Overcoming the trap of instant gratification. The primary challenge we face is biological. Our brains are wired for instant gratification. We are evolved to want immediate results, to find the quickest path to the kill. We want to see massive gains now, not in 6 months or a year. This is why most traders chase home run wins and ultimately fail. They risk too much, they overtrade, and they abandon their proven plans because they crave rapid validation. However, the market is a machine designed to punish impatience and impulsiveness. Professionals understand that consistent, small improvements are far more powerful than occasional, huge, unsustainable efforts. Let's bring this concept to life with an example outside the world of finance. Imagine the habit of saving money. If you save a 10 this month, it seems tiny. You might think, what difference does this really make? But if you save a little every day and let those savings grow with interest, in a year, you've built a significant fortress of capital. That is compounding in action. The same is true for skill. A musician practicing 15 minutes daily with focus will improve faster than someone who practices intensely for 3 hours once a week. A runner who hits the pavement 5 days a week improves far more than someone who attempts a marathon once a month. These examples illustrate that consistency, not intensity, creates true mastery. The professional vs. the amateur, most new traders look for one perfect trade, the holy grail strategy that will make them rich overnight. They ignore the tiny improvements that actually build the internal infrastructure of a professional. They don't track their trades, they don't manage risk properly, and they let their emotions run wild. The inevitable result is frustration, losses, and eventually quitting. On the other hand, the trader who applies the 1% principle improves with surgical consistency. They analyze each trade, they journal the results, they refine their exits, and they control their emotions just a little more each day. The gains may seem invisible at first, but over weeks and months, those small improvements compound, and suddenly, their account growth accelerates into a vertical climb. It's no longer about luck or hitting a lotto. Trade, it's about steady, predictable evolution. It's like planting seeds. You plant one today, another tomorrow. At first, you see nothing but dirt. But with consistent care, water, and sunlight, those seeds grow into a flourishing garden. The journey of 1,000 trades begins with a single, disciplined step. Each adjustment is a building block. The results might not be obvious today, but they are inevitable tomorrow. The trading muscle, concept, most traders believe success comes from massive effort, grinding for 12 hours a day or taking high-stakes risks. But discipline is like building physical muscle. Each disciplined action, tracking a trade, controlling an emotion, following a rule, is a repetition that strengthens your trading ability. If you focus only on big efforts without consistency, you might see a temporary spike, but it won't last. Discipline compounds your mental advantages. Every small, consistent action builds your confidence and reduces the frequency of mistakes until decision-making becomes automatic. Imagine the professional athlete. They don't become champions by training once a month. They train every day, refining their technique by fractions of a millimeter. By the time they step onto the field, their performance is a foregone conclusion. In trading, your performance happens at the execution of a trade. If you haven't built the trading muscle through small, daily discipline, you will fold under the pressure of the market. Small, consistent improvements build mental resilience. Your decisions become more deliberate, your reactions calmer, and your performance more predictable. This approach works regardless of your account size. You don't need $1 million to start, you just need the discipline to improve 1% today. Step-by-step implementation. The 4 pillars now, it's time to get practical. Knowing the theory is useless if it isn't applied. Let's break down exactly how to use the 1% strategy to grow your skills and your account through 4 specific pillars. 1. Track everything. Journaling is not optional. It is the laboratory of your success. When you track every trade, every decision, and every emotion, you begin to see patterns that were previously invisible. You will see exactly where you panic and where you excel. Awareness is the first step to improvement. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, you cannot fix it. 2. Incremental risk management. Most accounts blow up because of a single, massive error in judgment regarding risk. Improving your risk management by even 1% daily protects your capital. If you usually risk 3%, try reducing it slightly to 9% to see how it affects your psychology. Proper risk management allows you to stay in the game long enough for compounding to actually take effect. 3. Emotional discipline and regulation. Fear and greed are the silent killers. By improving your emotional control by just 1% daily, perhaps by taking 3 deep breaths before hitting buy, you reduce impulsive trades. You are not trying to become a robot. You are trying to become 1% less reactive than you were yesterday. Each time you resist the urge to revenge trade, you are winning for. Continuous strategy refinement is not about jumping from one strategy to another. It is about making small, deliberate tweaks to the system you already have. Maybe you adjust your stop-loss placement by a few pips based on data, or you refine your entry time. These minor adjustments over hundreds of trades create a massive edge. Deepening the psychology, the snowball effect. To sustain this, you must understand the psychology of small wins. When you achieve a small, manageable goal, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. This creates a positive feedback loop. Instead of feeling the stress of trying to make 10,000 today, you feel the satisfaction of following my rules perfectly today. This builds what we call unstoppable confidence. Confidence compounds just like profits do. One disciplined trade leads to another. Over time, your brain begins to trust your system because you have proven through 1,000 tiny actions that you are a disciplined professional. Think of the snowball effect. A tiny ball of snow at the top of a mountain is fragile, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow. With every rotation, it becomes larger, heavier, and faster. By the time it reaches the bottom, it is an unstoppable force of nature. Your trading skill is that snowball. Every 1% improvement is another layer of snow. In the beginning, it seems like you aren't moving much. But once you hit that inflection point, your growth becomes a vertical line that no one can stop. Expanding the horizon, the 5,000 character deep dive into long-term sustainability. To truly reach the level of a 3,000 word mastery script, we must look at the long-term maintenance of the 1% principle. Many traders start well but lose momentum after the honeymoon phase. How do you keep the 1% alive for 5, 10, or 20 years? The concept of entropy. In trading in physics, entropy is the gradual decline into disorder. Trading systems and human discipline are subject to entropy. If you are not actively improving by 1%, you are likely declining by 1%. The market is a dynamic, evolving beast. Strategies that worked in 2024 might not work in 2026. Therefore, the 1% improvement isn't just about getting better. It's about staying relevant. Professional traders engage in a process of constant, deep learning and learning. They look at their data not just to see what worked, but to see what is starting to fail. This proactive 1% shift is what keeps them ahead of the curve, while others are left wondering why their hold reliable strategy is suddenly losing money. The social and environmental 1%, your environment, plays a massive role in your ability to maintain discipline. If you surround yourself with get-rich-quick gamblers, your 1% improvement will be stifled by their negative influence. Part of the 1% strategy involves auditing your surroundings. Can you make your trading desk 1% more organized? Can you spend 1% more time talking to successful mentors and 1% less time on toxic social media forums? These environmental tweaks reduce the friction of being disciplined. When discipline becomes the path of least resistance, success becomes inevitable. The role of physical and mental health. You cannot trade effectively if your hardware, your brain, is misfiring. A 1% improvement in your sleep, a 1% improvement in your hydration, or a 1% increase in your daily movement can result in a 10% increase in your cognitive clarity during market hours. Professional traders treat themselves like elite athletes. They know that a foggy brain leads to impulsive clicks, and impulsive clicks lead to account drawdowns. By focusing on the trader as a whole, you ensure that your decision-making engine is always running at peak performance. Scaling the 1% strategy as your account grows, the 1% becomes more significant in absolute terms. Improving your return on 1% on a $1,000 account is now 10. Improving it on a funds $1,000 account is now $10. This is the beauty of the strategy. The work remains the same, but the rewards scale exponentially. However, as the numbers get bigger, the psychological pressure increases. This is why building the trading muscle early is so vital. If you haven't mastered the 1% discipline on a small account, you will never be able to handle the 1% shifts on a large one. The habits you build today are the only things that will save you when the stakes are high. The legacy of consistency. Finally, consider the legacy you are building. Trading is often seen as a selfish pursuit of money. But the discipline you learn here, the ability to look at a problem, break it down into 1% parts, and solve it through consistent action, is a skill that transfers to every area of your life. It makes you a better parent, a better partner, and a better leader. You are not just building a bank account, you are building a character. The 1% principle is a philosophy of life that says, I am not a victim of my circumstances, I am the architect of my progress. Your daily routine for 1% success. To ensure you leave this session with a clear path forward, let's define a daily routine that guarantees your 1% growth. Pre-market review your trading plan. Visualize yourself following your rules, especially during volatile moments. This is a 1% improvement in mental preparation. During market hours, focus on one specific micro goal today. Perhaps your goal is, I will not move my stop loss once it is set. This is a 1% improvement in execution. Post-market log your trades. Be brutally honest about your emotions. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do 1% better tomorrow? This is a 1% improvement in awareness. Every day you follow this routine, you are adding another layer of snow to your snowball. You are planting another seed in your garden. You are taking another step up the mountain. It will feel slow. It might even feel boring, but boring is where the money is. Excitement in trading usually leads to losses. Calm, disciplined 1% consistency leads to wealth. Conclusion. The first step, the journey to becoming a millionaire trader, does not begin with a 100,000 profit. It begins with a 1% improvement in your next trade. It begins with the decision to stop gambling and start building. It begins with the humility to accept that small steps are the only way to reach great heights. You have the map, you have the science, and you have the strategy. The only thing left is the action. Don't wait for the perfect market conditions. Don't wait for a bigger account. Don't wait until you feel ready. Take one small action right now. Open your journal. Review your last loss. tweak your risk setting. The clock of compounding is ticking, and every day you delay is a day of exponential growth you can never get back. Start your 1% journey today and let the unstoppable power of compounding turn your trading dreams into a predictable reality. Would you like me to create a specific 30-day 1% improvement checklist tailored to your current trading style to help you get started?